In this video, we will talk about update record function, and this function we import from Lightning UI Record API module. So we use this wire adapter to update a record. We provide the record ID of the record to update the record input. So it's definitely necessary to pass the record ID. Then only this function get to know which record he has to update. If we look at the syntax, first we need to import the update record function from the Lightning UI Record API. And to this function, we have to pass record input. A record input object is used to update the record, so you need to pass all the necessary things that you want to update in the record, like including record ID. If you change the name field, then you have to pass the name field to the record input object. And the second field is the client options, and that field is an optional field, but this field is used to check for a conflict before you update a record. So let's go to our VS Code and see how update record works. So I am in my VS Code. Let's create a new component. We'll call it as update record demo. So the component has been created. And to understand this update record function, first we need the data. So let's bring in the data to the component. And to bring in the data, we're going to use another adapter that we already discussed, that is get list UI. And we'll get it from the Lightning UI list API module. And this adapter we're going to use with wire @wire. The adapter name and the adapter configuration will come here. And to use the wire, you need to import the wire from the LWC module. And the configuration that we have to pass is the object API name. And the second thing we have to pass is the list view API name. And for this demo, we're going to use the contact record. So list view API name, I can say all contacts. And for API name, I can say contact object. And this object we're going to import. We'll say import contact object from @Salesforce schema / contact object. And now we are importing, and we'll pass this API name contact object. It should not be in the string because we are importing this value. And we are getting the error. We are importing the get list UI from the Lightning UI API. We are passing the API name, and then we need to decide whether to use it as a property or a function. And to do that, we'll create this as a function, not a property. So I'll say the function name list view handler, and it will receive data as well as error. And what we're gonna do, we'll say if data there, then console.log data. If error is there, print console.error. We are passing console.error as error, and if data comes, we are printing the data. And in the HTML, we can quickly create the card. We'll say lightning card update record demo, and here I can say div class SLDS padding around medium, and that's it. Let's go to the meta tag meta file, and update is exposed to true, and change the targets to app page. So we are placing our component in the app page. So I'll repeat it again. I'll just call the get list UI adapter, import the adapter, call the functionality. It will bring the contact results, and we are printing that contact results in the console. So let's go and deploy this. So now it's deploying, and let's go to the org. I'm in the CRUD UI Record API Lightning page. Let's edit the page. And on the left hand side we can search our component name, update record demo. Let's place it right inside. Let's hit save. Let's go back. Let's go to console and let's see what it's giving us. The data it's giving two properties, info and records. Under the records we have a record property and there we have 21 contact records. And if I open a single record, then you can see it has the fields, account, email ID with the values, account name, owner and all. So let's go and use this to build the data table. So this demo we're gonna use the data table. So let's go back and let's first construct the data, and before that let's include the lightning data table. So if you don't know how the lightning data table works, you can search the lightning data table in the Salesforce. I'll just say lightning data table. I'll go to the lightning data table documentation just for you guys to understand how it works. So I'll go here in the lightning web components. I'll go to lightning. I can search here data table. I'll select data table and here is the data table option, different types of option that you can use. Data table with the row number, data table with the inline editing, and here I'll just copy paste this lightning data table tag and paste it here. So it takes the key field ID, it takes the data, it takes the column, and in our case we can hide the checkboxes. For that you can add the attribute hide checkbox column, and apart from that we're gonna make this data table editable. So we're gonna add some more attributes. We'll say draft values. We'll create a property draft values here. Then we can add on save that handles once you edit some property in the data table, that on hit of save this method gets called up. So let's see what is everything. Instead of data I'll say contacts. So we'll map these properties now one by one. Okay, so let's go to the JS file and here I am receiving the data, right? So first we need to do, we'll create a property context because we are using the context as the data. So data that will pass to the lightning data table. So initialize, we can initialize it with the empty array and we'll say this dot context equal to data dot records dot records, because if you go back to the data that we are printing in the console, there is two records. One is this record and this record. So data dot records dot fields, and if we don't want to use the fields we can ignore that. What we're gonna do is we'll run the loop on the record. So each field will be called, each record will call one by one. So what we'll do, we'll say map item dot map item. So each item is a each record or each contact record, and we'll say return. We need some specific field. We'll go through ID, name, title, phone, email. That's the basic field that we have. And before that what I'm gonna do is I'll create another function, get value. I'll say get value. It will receive the data and the field and it will return data dot field and the field that you will pass, and this should be fields dot field dot value. Why I'm doing this I'll explain you in a minute. So now if I go to the records, each item is each record, and from the each item I have to go to the fields, and from the field I have to pick up suppose name. So I'll go to name dot value, right? So if I have to write it here, how I'm gonna write it, I'll say name colon item dot fields dot name dot value. Like this I have to write it again for all the fields that I'm gonna do, that I'm gonna use. So instead of this, what I can do is I'll just call this dot get value that we have created here. Get value, it will receive the data. Data is nothing, it's the whole item, whole object basically. And which field you want to extract, I'll say name, right? So likewise we can extract all the fields and return those fields in the object form. So I'll extract id, I'll extract name, I'll extract title, phone, email. I'm passing id, name, email, phone, email, and it will go to the data fields and set the field name, pick the value of name. Then title come, pick the title dot value. Phone come, phone dot value. Likewise it returns all the data in the form of array of object of these property and store in the context. So now we got the context. Now we want the columns. So we will create the columns. So columns we always decide hard codedly. So we'll say const, if it is a constant, so we always define above the class. So we'll say constant, I'll say calls, and in this we have to define the columns. So here I'm using id, name, title, phone, email. So I'll use the same column here as well. So the first thing is the label that you want to show on the screen. So I'll say I want to show on the screen as id only. Then the field name is the name that you are using in your data. So I'll say field name is id. Likewise I'm gonna use it couple of times. So I'll say I'll copy it 5 times. So second field is the name field. I'll say name, and the field name is name. Then third property is title. I'll use title here and title here. Fourth field is phone. So if we'll not define any type to the column, it means it's a text field. Now phone is not a text field, right? We can define the type as tele. And we want this field to be editable. So I'll say editable true. If you want the user to update the phone field, you can add the attribute editable true. I'll copy this and paste it. And the last field is email. I want the user to edit the email as well. So I'll say label email, field name email, and type email. I guess for telephone we have the text type only. Let's remove this. Let's keep the type for email only. So now I have a column. I'll create another property here, columns equal to false, and columns we already using in the HTML file, columns. Now apart from that we have draft values. So draft values we'll talk about in a minute. So I'll create this draft value property and initialize it with the empty array. And apart from that we have a handle save, and for handle save we can create a function or a method. So on the bottom I'll go and create a method handle save. It will receive an event and we'll store that event. I'll store it as event dot detail, and I'm just consoling it, not even storing it, I'm just consoling it. So let's deploy this. Let's go to a terminal and let's deploy this. And now it's deployed. Till now we haven't talked about anything related to update record. We just learn how we can fetch the data and render the data table. So let's refresh the page. Now you can see that our component is showing the data table. It's showing the same field that we are passing, id, name. It's showing id twice. I'll look into this. And title, phone, and email. If I hover over the each column, so here, here, but as soon as I hover over the phone field, it show a pencil icon. It means it's a editable field, and an email, it means it's a editable field. If I go here, you can see that we have said editable true, editable true. And why it's showing 2 times id? Because by mistake we add the id twice. Let's remove this and deploy this again. In meantime, If I click on this pencil icon and I'll update something here, I'll say 1 2 3 4 5 and click outside. See, the yellow color is coming. It means it's the draft value. If I go to the console and clear the console, as soon as you update something, it not update in real time. It's a draft. It's a temporarily updated value. And if you go down, you will see a save button because you already changed something. And if I hit save, it will give me data that will say which property you have updated basically. Okay, so to see that more clearly, let's go and say json.stringify event.detail, and we can say event.detail.draft value. So these are the draft value that comes when you click on the save, and draft values are the values that you have updated in the inline of the lightning record. So lightning data table. So let's deploy this again. So now it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. And I'll clear the console first. I'll update this to again 1 2 3 4, and I'll go down. I'll see the save button, and if I hit save, it immediately tell me the ID is the row ID and the phone is 1234. If I update another field here, I'll say 456 and I'll go and hit save. Now it shows two records are updated, one with row 0 and second one with the row 2. So now we have the draft values. Now we have to update those. So now we are getting the draft values. Now we'll start working on our main agenda, that is update record. So now we know something has been changed, but we have to tell our Salesforce that update this value for these particular records. And for that, what we need to do is we have to import the update record function from the UI record API. And once it's imported, we need to use it. We'll go to our save function and we'll save. We already seen the syntax. The syntax is the update record will take the record input and update this record input is a object. So I'll say record input is an object, and to get this object, what we can do is we already getting the draft values. So what we're gonna do, we'll run the map on these draft values. Each value is a draft, and we'll say store this draft into the field, and we are returning the fields here. So what we are trying to do here is, I'll just copy this data that draft is coming. So event.draft values, we already know it looks like this. Each draft is a single object, right? So draft comes here, will pass the draft to fields. So basically fields will become like this, and to pass the data we have to map the data in the form of this. Okay, so each record should pass to the update record in this format. That's why we are doing this. So I'll clean it up. So I'm saying pass the draft value to the fields and map the fields as it is. So now the each record is in the form of fields, and the record input will pass to the update record. But we have multiple record inputs because we are updating multiple columns, right? Update record, update only one record at a time. So we need to run the loop on the record input as well. So what we'll do, record inputs, this should be record inputs because now it's multiple. So we'll change it to record inputs dot map, and we'll say each input is record input. Each time one input will picked up and it will pass to the record input, and this function gets called up and it will return the promise. We'll store that in the property or a variable promises. Because we are updating multiple records, so definitely the multiple promises come, and to handle the multiple promises we have a technique. We can say promise dot all and pass the promises reference. So it will be like this, like a first call, then the second call. In the array format it will come. Okay, so we'll pass the promise and all promises completed. We'll say you can print in the console.log contact updated successfully, and if it fails then it will go to the catch, and in the catch we will catch the error, and we'll say console dot error updating the record, and you can print the error as well, whatever the error is coming. So now our update functionality is all set to update. Let me repeat it again. First we import the update record. Update record updates only one record at a time, but we are updating multiple record in the lightning data table. That's why we are using the map operation. First we are creating the inputs. So inputs are nothing, the rows that you have updated. It will come in the form of draft. We need to pass it in the form of fields. So our each record input should be a object of fields. And now we have multiple record inputs. We are running and calling the update record multiple times based on the number of record inputs or based on the number of rows we have updated. And once the promises come, we are calling the promise.all. Once all the updation completes, then it will call the then method and will print contact updated successfully. If any of the update record fail, it will print an error. So let's go and deploy this, and now it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. Let's clean our console first. Now if I go down, you will not see any save button because we haven't updated anything. So let me update the last record this time, and I'll update number 8882.999, and let's update the second last record as well to 1111. So now we are updating multiple fields, and we can update one combination with email as well for the 19th row. So I'll say 0@hero.com, and I updated the email as well. So now we have 3 rows updating. One is for email and 2 for the phone number. Let's hit save, and it immediately throws an error, and let's debug this. And to understand this error, if we look at the data that we are passing the correct field that we are updating, but we are not passing the correct ID. ID should be the record ID, right? So we are doing something wrong in the code. Our ID is coming in the ID form, and we are mapping the ID correctly. If I go to the HTML, let's look at the key field, and here the ID is small, so it's taking the random ID right now. Let's update the small ID to capital ID so that it will map our ID with this ID that is coming. Let's deploy this and see whether it will solve our issue or not, because I want the ID to be the record ID, not this random row ID. So let's see, it's deployed. and let's refresh the page again. Let's clear the console again. Let's update this 888 to 999. Let's update this to 444 and hit save. And now if I go to console, right, in the console you can see that the ID is coming correctly. That is a row ID. Let's see whether it's updating or not. Now it's updating. It's saying contact updated successfully. It's having the updated value, but the still yellow color is coming because we are not clearing our default values, that is our draft values. So let's go and clear the draft values as well. So once my promise all called and it says yes, successfully updated, so it means whatever you store in the draft values, it should be empty. So let's deploy and see. Now it's deployed. Let's refresh the page and let's update this something on the top, 333 to 12345, and let's hit save. And now you see immediately it updated it. The yellow color gone, the buttons are also hidden now. So that's how we update it. If you want to update the email, you can say nick@gmail.com, and we can update some number here again. We'll say 888888 and hit save. And now you see it's updating immediately, and it immediately. Now our update record is working fine, and our record is also refreshing immediately. And for refreshing it immediately is because we are using the wire service. So wire service automatically detects something has been updated. It invalidates the cache and bring the latest data. And that's how our update record works. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.